Have it now, second down and 13 as Dawson goes to the air for the first time. He's going for Richardson. He's got it. He's got a touchdown. 48 yards, and Kansas City is on the board.
Let's take a look at Richardson. Richardson just took off on a fly pattern. There must have been a mix-up in the defensive secondary.
Unitas' pass is away. The intended receiver fell down. It's intercepted by Johnny Robinson back at the 35, and Robinson is dropped at the 24. 17 out of 21 outside the 20-yard line. It is history, and this one is through the upright. Unitas to throw, looking for Jefferson. It was considered a fumble, and Kansas City comes up with a football. Johnny Unitas gets his pass away for Jefferson. It's picked off by Kearney, or Robinson. It's Johnny Robinson, again the free safety, making his presence felt in the secondary. For a total of 41 yards in run back. Lenny Dawson rolling out, gets his pass away. Holmes, touchdown!
You'll see Holmes, number 45, come out of the backfield. It's a play-action pass. Talking to Dawson today, he said the play-action pass was best on first down. Here's a first down, the moving or the floating pocket. He throws it right over the head, and a good catch by Holmes. As Holmes catches it, falling into the end zone.
The setback. Jefferson and Hetton, the wide receivers. Unitas get away from Aaron Brown, but Brown recovers and comes back to get him. It's third down and about 22 as Unitas fades to throw, and no chance. No chance. That's Brown again. First man to throw the football 20 miles. That's Bulash. Fumble. Johnny Robinson's got it again. Touchdown. Wide right, Pitts wide left. Dawson to throw. Wants to go deep. Pitts is out there by himself. Touchdown. On to get 10 points for Baltimore. 7 of them in the closing moments of the first half, and Morrill is back in there now, and Emmett Thomas has just picked one off. At the 37-yard line, down the sidelines he goes. He steps out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds at the 14-yard line. He hit it fair and square, and hands go up all over the ballpark. The kick is good. Third down 7. Morrill under pressure, cannot get away from Buck Buchanan. Kick. He's a fine punter. Podalak takes it at the 42. Oh, look out!
What a spectacular run.
Fantastic run. The wall coming in as Mormon trying to set up for him. He does get a couple of good blocks. Now, the punter, David Lee, he's not really used to that tackling line. That's what you call the old bulldog. That's what you call your old bulldog, and he missed it again. And Podalak is heading for that end zone, but he didn't quite make it. A heck of a run back.
Dawson will throw. He loops it for Pitts. Touchdown! Out of the backfield. Podalak. He's tough. He goes to the Baltimore 42-yard line. Field goal. It's good. Kansas City 47-yard line. Morrill throws intended for Perkins. It is intercepted by Emmett Thomas. He's hobbling along, and he is finally knocked out of bounds.
Following Monday night, the Chiefs were in Baltimore to face the always dangerous Colts and all-time NFL passing leader John Unitas. It was a mismatch. All-time AFL passing leader Len Dawson lit the fuse when he hit Gloucester Richardson for a touchdown on the first series of the game. Dawson went on to complete 9 of 12 passes, good for 3 more touchdowns. 1 to Robert Holmes, and 2 to number 25, wide receiver Frank Pitts. In the second quarter, the Chiefs led 31-0, partly because of Dawson's passing and partly because of an offensive line which blew open cavernous holes for the bullish charges of Robert Holmes, and for the deceptive draws of Wendell Hayes, and for the waterbug scamperings of Warren McVeigh. And a new star was born when punt returner Ed Podalak dazzled the national television audience with a premiere performance of the dashing style which would soon become a major part of the Kansas City offense. When Unitas had the ball, he didn't keep it for long. Everywhere he looked, the Chiefs were waiting. 5 times the Chiefs' man-for-man defense outmanned the Colts. 2 interceptions were by number 18, whip-it quick cornerback Emmett Thomas, and 3 were by number 42, all-everything free safety Johnny Robinson, who also scooped up a Baltimore fumble and turned it into another Kansas City touchdown. While the defensive back sealed off the long plays, the Chiefs linebackers snapped up the short ones. Jim Lynch closed off the right side. Willie Lanier manhandled the middle. And Bobby Bell was at his all-pro best on the left. And defensive end Aaron Brown, number 87, was a one-man wrecking crew, as the Chiefs overwhelmingly convinced the Colts and the nation that the World Championship belonged in Kansas City.
In Kansas City, Coach Hank Stram was looking for a way to end his team's miseries as they faced the Boston Patriots. The Super Chiefs have been inconsistent this season, sometimes flashing championship form, but rarely being able to maintain momentum. Playing without injured Lenny Dawson, the Chiefs relied on the brutal thrusts of the mini-backs, Warren McVeigh, Mike Garrett, and number 45, Robert Holmes. Holmes scored both the Kansas City touchdowns as field goals accounted for the rest of the Chiefs' points. In the second quarter, a weird series of plays occurred that typified the Chiefs' early season woes. Jim Kearney, number 46, intercepted a Boston pass, but he fumbled, and the Patriots regained possession. On the very next play, it was linebacker Jim Lynch's turn to pick off a pass. This play was also canceled by a penalty. On the third play of the same series, number 42, Johnny Robinson, intercepted another one. After 3 tries, the Chiefs had finally obtained possession, and the interception, 1 of 6, set up a field goal, giving the Chiefs a 10-3 halftime lead. In the second half, a familiar face in a new uniform entered the game for Boston and was greeted rudely by the Chiefs' defense. Number 11, Joe Kapp, took over at quarterback, and although he was disguised in a different uniform, the Chiefs still had his number. In the fourth quarter, John Hewitt's pass was intercepted by number 28, Art McMahon. Boston had a chance to get on the scoreboard. Boston seemed to move with a new inspiration, a new pride, as the contagious never-say-die spirit of Joe Kapp took effect. When Ron Seller's catch was ruled out of bounds, Cap simply pumped another to number 40, Bake Turner. Boston may have finally found their leader, but Cap's heroics were too late as the Chiefs began their climb back to the top in the AFC West with a 23-10 victory. In Cincinnati, the healthiest arm on the field belonged to the baton twirler. With Greg Cook out for the year and Lynn Dawson ailing, both offenses lackluster. But Bengals head coach, master strategist Paul Brown, had some surprises for the Chiefs' innovative Hank Stram. It was an understatement to say the Bengals were nervous, but whenever they suffered a bad break, they took it out on Kansas City. The Bengals secondary glad-handed any Chief receiver that came their way. The young Cincinnati rush line often caused Lynn Dawson to retreat into a pro quarterback's fetal position. The Bengals gained an early 9-0 lead when Essex Johnson followed number 73 Pat Matson to a touchdown that sent the old mentor reeling for an answer. The answer came from the Chiefs' head-buckling defense that stamped its rude message on every Bengal runner and receiver. Follow number 63 middle linebacker Willie Lanier, and you follow the ferocity that finally ground down the Bengal offensive machine. While Kansas City's defense found their answer, Lynn Dawson sought his from divine guidance. The Chiefs' offense was ignited by brash second-year running back Ed Podalak, number 14, who Hank Stram says will be another Tom Matty. Inspired by Podalak, the Chiefs unveiled their complete repertoire of illusion. Wendell Fluid Drive Hayes scored on a short burst, and Dawson fired a perfect pass to tight end Fred Arbanis, who scored his first touchdown since 1967. With their 27-19 victory over Cincinnati, the Chiefs remained one game behind Denver in the AFC's Western Division.
In a 23rd renewal of the dead-even rivalry that is more like an upheaval of nature than a sporting event. By this time in the season, Len Dawson had learned, when in trouble, get the ball to Ed Podalak. Ed Podalak gained more than 100 yards rushing for the first time in his brief career. Otis Taylor's racehorse powerful stride ground out another 129 spectacular yards. Perfect pass protection enabled Dawson and Taylor to complete the game's most sensational play. Despite these offensive heroics, the Chiefs trailed by 4 in the fourth quarter when fullback Wendell Hayes took a screen pass and careened into Oakland territory. Len Dawson found Otis Taylor clear by 10 yards, and the Chiefs led 17-14 with only 5.5 minutes left in the game. Then came the play which decided the game, and perhaps the season for the Chiefs. With 1 minute, 8 seconds to play, 3rd down, 11 to go, Len Dawson sprinted for 19 yards, and apparently the game-clinching first down. Then only madness remained. For 5 minutes, the game hung in the balance before offsetting penalties nullified Dawson's crucial play and gave the Raiders just enough time to cross midfield. From the Kansas City 48-yard line, the oldest player in pro football, 43-year-old George Blanda, booted home the tying points with just 3 seconds remaining. Instead of Kansas City, Oakland was suddenly in first place as the first half of the season drew to a depressing close. The second half of the season began with sheets of rain falling on the Oilers and Chiefs in the kind of game where even an all-pro punter like Gerald Wilson has trouble getting rid of the ball. The kind of game when anyone has trouble holding on to the ball. The only significant offense came about when Len Dawson connected twice with newly acquired tight end Billy Cannon to set up 2 Kansas City touchdowns. One scored on another super effort by Ed Podalak. Houston's Charlie Johnson moved the ball at times, but all-pro linebacker Bobby Bell tightened the clamps where necessary. In the 4th quarter, Bell broke the game open when he drifted into Johnson's passing lane and turned a Houston pass into a 45-yard clinching touchdown for Kansas City. Next for the Chiefs were the improving Pittsburgh Steelers, who had won 4 of 5. The Chiefs, however, were ready for Terry Bradshaw and the Steelers. 5 times the Chiefs intercepted, twice by Johnny Robinson, the only player remaining from the original Dallas Texans. Another Kansas City veteran with a reason to look back was quarterback Len Dawson. The man who was not good enough for the Steelers made his return to Pittsburgh a triumphant one as he ran and passed the Steelers into submission. 24 times he threw, and 19 times he connected for more than 250 yards. Twice he faked artfully to his backs and then hit Billy Cannon for touchdowns. The final artful stroke was a perfectly launched missile to Otis Taylor as Len Dawson destroyed the Steelers 31-14.
The Pittsburgh Steelers hosted the Kansas City Chiefs in new Three Rivers Stadium, and Ed Podalak politely presented the Steelers a housewarming gift. But like Indian givers, the Chiefs took it right back as Willie Mitchell stripped Preston Pearson of the ball and Bobby Bell recovered for Kansas City. Starting quarterback Terry Hanratty was fleeced by Jimmy the Gem Marcellus. And for a time, these two tough Stone Age squads traded favors in kind until it seemed that neither was willing to take advantage of the other. Defense has been the reason for Pittsburgh's strong showing in 1970, and number 44 Lee Callan is one of the ringleaders of that unit they call Track Down Incorporated. But after a stuttering start, Kansas City got rolling in the tracks of robust Robert Tank Holmes. And Lynn Dawson, one of the more famous cast-off Steeler quarterbacks, gave Pittsburgh the air, hooking up on 19 of 24 passes for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns. This one, the first of 2, to his dentist, Billy Cannon. And when dream quarterback Terry Bradshaw came on to put some oomph in the Steeler offense, he suffered another rude awakening to the pro game, this time at the hands of Johnny Robinson. It's likely that in their 2 Terrys, Pittsburgh holds at least one of the great quarterbacks for the future. But for now, it was Lynn Dawson's day, returning to the city where he began his pro career a decade ago. The Chiefs and Lenny Dawson stopped the Steelers 31-14.
Back in Kansas City for week 10, it was cold, but a sub-freezing wind chill did not deter another sellout crowd of Kansas City faithful. It was the kind of day when a man had to keep moving to stay in one place. The kind of day when gloves will help, but not enough. While the wind and the hands were frigid, the rivalry with the Cross-State Cardinals was something else. For the Chiefs, Ed Podalak continued to add luster to his record as he gouged out 112 yards rushing against a St. Louis defense which had recorded 3 consecutive shutouts. Podalak set up 1 field goal with a halfback option pass to number 88, tight end Morris Stroud. Jan Stenerud kicked another from farther out as the Chiefs built a 6-0 halftime lead. But despite holding the NFC's leading offense without a touchdown, 2 second-half field goals by Jim Buchan tied the final score at 6-6.
In Kansas City, it was cold. The game between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs was billed as the Championship of Missouri. The symbol of pro football supremacy in that state, the Governor's Cup, was at stake. But just about everyone would have settled for a cup of hot coffee. Fans, players, and sportscasters were all searching for ways to stay warm. Kansas City's Lynn Dawson tried a glove, but unfortunately he wore it on the wrong hand. It was so cold that players were as concerned with catching frostbite as they were with catching the football. The combination of bitter cold weather and rib-cracking hitting made pass receiving a dangerous occupation. The Chiefs got the first big break when linebacker Jim Lynch, number 51, hijacked a Jim Hart pass and rumbled past midfield. The interception set up one of 2 field goals by Jan Stenerud, the AFC's leading scorer. Stenerud's field goal snapped a 3-game St. Louis shutout streak and gave the Chiefs a 6-0 halftime lead. On a day when it was almost too cold to move, there was lots of action between the goal lines, but very few points. The Cardinal passing game was often effective, but when points were needed, the Birds froze up. While St. Louis's passing attack was often sporadic, the Kansas City air game barely existed. The Chiefs completed only 5 passes all day, and their only consistent weapon was running back Ed Podalak, number 14. A fourth-quarter Kansas City field goal attempt almost resulted in disaster for the Chiefs, as number 22 Roger Worley nearly went all the way for what could have been the winning touchdown. The Cardinals salvaged a tie when Jim Bakken's field goal knotted the score at 6. The Pro Football Champion of Missouri is still unknown, but both teams have a bigger game in mind. It's called the Super Bowl.
This time, Len Dawson pushed all the right buttons, and the Kansas City offense shifted into high gear. Dawson hit 17 of 24, including a scoring dart to the tallest man in pro football, 6'10" Morris Stroud, as the Chiefs rolled past the Chargers 26-14. The final home game for the Chiefs was the rematch with Denver. The game's only touchdown came on the second play from scrimmage, as Ed Podalak followed picture-perfect blocking for 65 yards. the Chiefs' longest play of the year. Podalak went on to his third 100-plus game, while Jan Stenerud added 3 field goals on his way to the conference scoring title and All-Pro honors. The Kansas City defense added 5 more interceptions, 3 by league leader Johnny Robinson, as the Chiefs avenged their earlier defeat at Denver by dealing the Broncos their first shutout in almost 4 years.
Although the Chiefs are very popular in Kansas City, they are by no means the only thing popular in Kansas City. The nice thing about the Chiefs, though, is that they are popular with one another. The Chiefs are definitely not popular, however, with Denver quarterback Alan Pastrana, number 12, as they dropped in on him raining fury instead of flowers. Not to seem ungrateful for the hospitality, the Broncos barged in on the Chiefs' Len Dawson on several occasions, as neither offense could generate much action. The only genuine threat on either side was the Chiefs' Ed Podalak, number 14. Podalak has been the only constant in the Chiefs' offense thus far, as he ran for 139 yards. 65 of those yards came on the second play of the game, as he scored the only touchdown of the contest. The Chiefs' other points were all set up by their defense, who looked menacingly confident. The defense intercepted 5 Denver passes, 3 by all-everything safety Johnny Robinson, number 42. Jan Stenerud booted 3 field goals as Kansas City held Denver scoreless for the first time in 52 games.